A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Rian Nathaniel, Product Head, Retail and Client Services at SHRM India, and currently drive retail sales, memberships, certifications, virtual HR training programs, and other key strategic initiatives at SHRM. Well, heartiest congratulations once again to all those who recently got certified, and we welcome you all to the first part series on earning professional development credits to stay certified. But before we dive into this session, I would like to give you a glimpse of the global and local footprints of SHRM. The Society of Human Resource Management is the world's largest not for profit association for HR professionals, with over 3 lakh members globally, represented in over 165 countries. At SHRM, we offer membership, global certifications, HR conferences, training programs, advisory solutions, and academic partnerships. So, why should you recertify? Well, earning your SHRM CP and SCP credentials proves your competence in the field and your dedication to the profession. So, maintaining it shows that you are committed to self improvement and HR excellence. By recertifying your SHRM certification, you enhance your competency, maintain relevance, and maximize the value of your original investment. I would now like to welcome our esteemed speakers for the session. Didipya Ajit John, Director in South Advisory Services, SHRM APAC in India, and Shivani Reddy, Senior Manager, Head of HRBP at TDCX. So welcome, ladies. A very warm welcome and good evening.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks.
Great. So my first question to you, Dedu, is what does the recertification entail?
To all those who are joining us today, once again, a warm congratulations to each one of you and welcome to the SHRM Certification Club. What does recertification entail? Recertification is nothing but that requires a certification holder, which is each one of you, to earn 60 credits. And in our terminologies, we call it as the professional development credits. And this is something that you need to accumulate within a 3-year period since the time that you have got recertified. All that you need to do is that stay relevant, keep gathering your PDCs, which is your recertification credits, keep updating your recertification portal that each one of you have, and then at the end of 3rd year, you automatically get recertified. And how is it that you can accumulate these pointers are something that we will be deep diving a lot more, I'm sure, into this conversation. Yes, Leanne.
Thank you, Dedu. Anything you want to add on, Shivani?
Yeah, sure, Lian. Thank you so much. Just to add, out of these total 60 PDCs that we talk about, your professional development credits, they are actually categorized into 3 different categories, which is about advancing your education, advancing your organization, and advancing your profession. So we'll cover all those details in subsequent portions of the session today. And yeah, so
Great. So my next question is to you, Shivani. What are the 2 ways to get recertified?
Well, this is pretty simple. One is definitely once you earn your first certification by writing your exam, you can, after a cycle of 3 years, you can rewrite your exam and get certified. Or the simpler way actually is to earn 60 PDCs in a cycle of 3 years so that you can recertify yourself. And I personally think the much, much, much wiser decision is to earn your 60 PDCs rather than sitting through the exam all over again.
I'm sure a lot of our audience must agree with you on this one, right? Great. So moving on to the next question, what has been your learning experience while getting recertified? Shivani, back to you on this one.
Okay. So learning experience, that's an interesting one, Lian. Of course, I had a few when I started this journey. Actually, from the time when I got into the recertification cycle, thinking I already cleared my exam once, so it's not going to be difficult, to be honest. Although the examination I felt prepared me really, really well academically, but of course, when we talk about balancing it, balancing your academic qualification with the practical implementation, it's a whole new ballgame. For me, actually, the realization kicked in much later in the cycle. that there is still, if I decide to sit through the exam, there's a lot of content that I need to brush upon in order to successfully clear the exam. That was my first learning. I would say that was my first realization. And as I said, I think personally, I've come to realize that it's much easier and much effective way is to earn PDCs, to recertify rather than writing exam. My quick so to say giveaway or my learnings from my experience, I think first and foremost, I would suggest everyone to plan well in advance. Very simple. Look at the SHRM website, identify the courses or events that you want to attend based on your preference, based on your learning needs, allocate time. As simple as that. It's pretty simple. Block your calendars. I mean, planning is a must. Moving on, then I would strongly, like from my experience, what I gained was my first recertification cycle. First 2 years was a slow progress, I would say. It actually picked up in the final year, and I realized, I mean, that was very stressful. It wasn't a wise decision to leave it for the last year. So I would say consistency is the key here. Keep the momentum on, continuously keep leveraging on the activities and on your PDCs regularly. Don't leave it to the last minute. That has been my second and a very, I would say, a very important learning from my first recertification cycle. And lastly, I think without doubt, upload your PDCs or your activity codes right away into the portal as soon as you finish your activity or the event that you're attending. So it's pretty simple. I'm sure we're going to cover about how to collect those, how to upload those in the portal, but do it right away, right after your session. So plan, consistency, and leave your, upload your activity codes right away. Best part is honestly what I've come to realize is SHRM has made it even simpler by giving us access to the portal via an app. So you can do it anytime, anywhere. So it's just made it so easy to go through the cycle and keep uploading your points there.
Great. Thanks, Shivani. Dedu, anything you would like to add here?
I think Shivani was bang on. It's the planning, it's the consistency, it's all being on time. But something that I would like to cover here a little bit more on how do you go about collecting PDCs, because that's equally important to be cognizant of and have the knowledge of what are the various learning elements through which you can accumulate your PDCs. So as we discussed this in the early start, that there are three ways. One is advance your education, advance your profession, and advance your organization. There is a detailed recertification document available right in our SHRM website that each one of you can download and go through it. So the key is to actually go through the document in totality and make a note of what are the various events or learning elements that I can take up this particular year to ensure that I accumulate my points. Now, going a little bit deeper. So when you talk about advancing your education, you may be attending workshops. You may be attending conferences, whether it is the SHRM conferences or any other conferences. You might be attending workshops internally within your organization or externally, which are done by the consultancies. Or some of you may also take up higher degree educational programs as well, the short term or the long term. Each one of them have certain recertification points associated with it. As a thumb rule, every 1 hour of learning content gives you one PDC or one recertification credit. So that's about advance your education, and there is absolutely no limit in the number of PDCs that you can accumulate through advance your education. Now, if we were talking about the second part, which is advance your profession. Now, how do you go about advancing your profession? Is either you make your presentations, you are delivering a program, or you're delivering a workshop. As HR professionals, I'm sure we keep delivering a lot of presentations, whether in conferences, whether in webinars, or delivering workshops themselves. Number two is also that when you have a professional membership such as SHRM, we have an SHRM membership. So this SHRM membership also helps you to accumulate as much as 3 PDCs in this entire recertification cycle. And the third one is research. In case any of you are interested in research and do a lot of research projects for your organization or elsewhere, that's also something that you can accumulate points for. For advance your profession, and the next one, which is advance your organization, there is a cap and a limit of 30 PDCs or 30 recertification credits. So that's something that we need to be cognizant of. The third one is, of course, advance your organization. And how do you go about doing that? Is by, let's say, for example, if you're doing a org-wide project within your organization, you can very well submit that as a key project along with the key takeaways and the action plan that went through in that entire project. And of course, there is a little bit of documentation that you need to submit from your organization in terms of what's the project is all about, what were the key outcomes, what has been your role in that particular project. But yeah, that's something that helps you to gain as much as 10 to 20 PDCs in itself. So these are the three ways in which you can accumulate your points. And while we say that it is 60 recertification points for a 3-year period, there's also yet another brownie point there that you can actually carry forward almost about 20 recertification points to the next 3 years. So if I were to give an example of myself, in my first recertification cycle, by the end of second year itself, I was already at 88 points. I only had to do 60. So automatically my 20 recertification points got carried forward to my second recertification cycle, and boom, I'm no longer starting from scratch at 0, but I'm starting at a 20. So that's always a confidence booster. But having said that, again, tying back to what Shivani said, it's important for you to go through this document, make a note of what are all the learning elements which you in your role perform as of today, and it can be easy to accumulate points for. And of course, go through our SHRM website, go through our partnered websites to understand what are some of those events through which you can get points. Block your calendars, and then just go ahead and start accumulating your points. So I think on that note, I just wanted to hand it over to Leanne again. Yes.
Great. Thank you so much, Shivani and Dedu, for sort of outlining your the entire journey and also on how one can really the key elements where they can gather these PDCs. My next question would be, what are your quick wins to earn PDC? So maybe Shivani, you can take this one.
Okay, so quick wins, like pretty simple, as Dedu rightly pointed out. I mean, in a cycle of 3 years, you need 60 PDCs and 20 you can carry forward. And there are various ways that you can earn these PDCs. For me, my top 2 favorite quick ones are these are short 1-hour webcasts. I mean, what I love about these webcasts is these are very diverse in nature and they're very short and quick. And what I find is they're very, very relevant as to what's happening in the industry right now. So on an average, I make sure I take out at least 1 hour a month to attend one of the webcasts. And if I do simple math, Lian, I mean, one webcast you attend a month, at the end of 1 year, you have 12 PDCs, and these are absolutely free. You don't have to pay anything for these short webcasts. And at the end of your 3-year cycle, your 36 PDCs are done. It just makes it so simple. That's I call it my cheat code for SHRM PDCs. Another one which I really like, and which is absolutely very simple. I mean, my SHRM membership. It is. I would like to highlight. It just not only gives me full access to the HR research material or HR Knowledge Center. Actually, my membership fetches me discounts on the conferences or the workshops that SHRM organizes. And on top of that, per year, it gives me up to 3 free PDCs. This is another one that I really like, because at the end of my 3-year cycle, I have accumulated 9 PDCs. Last one, every year SHRM organizes 2-day conference. I mean, this is one shot I get by attending one workshop or a conference every year. In one shot, I get 12 to 15 PDCs. So all these 3 are my top favorite. 1-hour podcast, or 1-hour webcast every month, and your SHRM membership, and lastly, one conference and a workshop. I think if we bare minimum do this, I have no doubts we're going to be covering, we're going to be able to fetch more than 60 PDCs in our cycle. I just see one question from Ruchita. Yes. Is the cycle for 3 years? I mean, to answer that, Ruchita, for you, yes, the recertification cycle is for a period of 3 years.
Great.
Yes, just to add on to that, Just to add on to that particular question, Shivani, you covered it also. I'm not going to focus on that question. But to the question that Ruchita has asked, yes, every 3 years you need to recertify yourself to be for your certification to be valid. And yes, as Shivani had mentioned, if that's not the case, then you will have to sit for the exam once again. But the wiser choice is always to collect your PDCs because that's the easier way out, and also it helps you to stay, constantly on that learning curve and keep getting those, best practices and be relevant in the latest context. Just wanted to also touch upon yet another question that has come in, saying that does one has to currently work for SHRM certification though has previous years of experience. So I'm assuming that the person who's asking this is not yet certified. If that's the case, if you have relevant HR experience, there is an eligibility grid for certification which you can access on our SHRM website. So as long as you have relevant HR experience, you can sit for the SHRM certification. So
Great.
yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Dedu and Shivani. So moving on to the next question is, how can the PDC activities be collected, Dedu? So if you can, shed some light on that. I know Shivani has
Absolutely.
covered some parts of it, but if you can, shed some light on anything else you want to add.
Yes. So going a little bit more into the operational part of it for the benefit of our viewers and the certified professionals. Now for the SHRM activities, as I said, there are three parts to it: advance your profession, your organization, and education. Now, depending on the learning elements under each of these, the process slightly varies. But the overall process is that each one of you would have your own SHRM certification portal, for which you have your own access. You have your user ID and login and password. In case anyone of you do not have or have misplaced it, please do reach out to our SHRM website. Just give me 1 second, please. I'm so sorry about that. So basically, so if you're talking about conferences, SHRM conferences, or the SHRM workshops, or you talk about memberships, you talk about our e-learning programs and the books that we have as a part of our store, the SHRM store. Each one of them have activity codes which are pre-assigned to them. So all that you need to do is that if you have attended our SHRM conference or our SHRM workshops or any other relevant SHRM relevant led interventions or activities, all that you need to do is that write in a mail to your SPOC within SHRM, or drop in a mail to shrmindia@shrm.org. Request for something called the activity code. So it's about 6-7 digits code. And once you get that activity code, all that you need to do is that log into your SHRM certification portal. And let's say, for example, it's a conference that you've attended. You just need to click on to your advance your education and add that activity code, and automatically the relevant number of PDCs will get populated. For activities like, let's say, for example, the work projects that you're doing within your organization, or you talk about the research projects or the presentations that you may have given in during workshops or within the organization, which do not have a pre-approved activity code, all that you need to do is that once again go into the SHRM certification portal, plug in the relevant number of hours that you have spent in for these particular activities, and automatically the relevant number of PDCs would get accumulated. The calculation is something that will be there as a part of the recertification document, which I was talking about, which is available on our SHRM website. And at relevant points for such kind of activities which do not have pre-approved activity IDs, at any given point in time, the SHRM team the certification team may reach out for certain documentation. So I would always request and suggest that whenever you're submitting certain projects or you talk about presentations, have some kind of documentation ready with you, whether it's a certificate or maybe certain mailers that you would have done, or certain letter that you would have got from your superiors in terms of the project that you have done, so that you always have the backing of your documentation as well. So in simple 3 words, know what are the activities, know what's your activity ID by reaching out to SHRM if it is a SHRM event. If not, have your documentation ready, and then you just have to go into your SHRM certification portal and populate your PDCs. I hope I've covered it all, Leanne.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Dedu. And I see some questions coming up. So before I move on to the last two questions, I would like to take up one question is, what is a PDC and what is the relevance of PDCs for my SHRM journey? Not certified yet. Considering getting certified this year by Lakshika. So, Dedu, you want to take that on?
I could take that on. I think, Leanne, you did cover that at the beginning of your, in the
Yes.
context setting. So PDC is nothing but professional development credit. It's nothing like, points or credits that you accumulate once you are certified. So it's not really relevant for you at this given point in time, Lakshita, because you're not yet certified. But yes, once you are certified, and the SHRM certification, the uniqueness of our certification is that it is based on the world's the global competency model of behavioral as well as leadership and HR functional competencies. And the uniqueness of the certification is that it helps you to prepare and also assesses you not just for the knowledge that you possess amongst all these competencies, but also how do you go about applying these competencies in real workplace situations. And that's what is the uniqueness of this entire certification. It is a very stringent but yet a very, very robust and comprehensive assessment in itself. And I think there is yet another. All the details are there on the website, but in it, just if I may just take 1 minute, you have your learning material, you have your comprehensive learning management portal that gets assigned to you to help you prepare for the certification. You sit down for your certification, which happens at a Prometric center. It's a 4-hour exam, and once you clear the threshold, you become an SHRM CP, which is a certified professional, or SHRM SCP, which is a senior certified professional. So there are 2 levels, as you can see. And once you get certified, from the day that you get certified, to ensure that your certification is relevant year on year, that's when the recertification comes into picture, and that's when the word PDC also comes into picture, which is a professional development credit. I hope I've answered your question, please.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dedu, for outlining it in detail. And Shivani, my next question to you before we come back to the audience questions is, what are the challenges one can face during the recertification process? So, straight from you as a candidate who's been, this is your second year of, recertification. What were your challenges?
Okay. Yeah. So this is, you rightly pointed out, this is my second recertification cycle right now I'm going through. Honestly, in my experience, the biggest challenge that I faced when I started this journey was, the process seems so long. When you say, okay, the cycle is for 3 years, you have to go through that, it just seems way too long, right? And especially when you've just gone through writing a massive exam and clearing that, just when you get to think that you've earned the crown and it's on your head, and then again, after that, you have to recertify yourself, it's kind of, at that point in time, you're like, okay, I have to go through this process all over again at the end of 3 years. So, that's the first challenge. But what I felt was, it appears very, very long because the way we look at it in that manner. Actually, after 3 years, when you again have to go through that, it's more, I would say, it's not just the concept or the academic knowledge that you gain, but if you go through the cycle of earning your PDCs by attending conferences, by attending webcasts, by attending workshops, it gives you more relatable and the updated knowledge, which is more, for your practical implementation in your day-to-day work. So that's one thing that I wanted to speak about. Another is, so at the beginning of the cycle, I'm sure a lot of us allocate time, look at the number of PDCs that I need to earn, how many I've carried forwarded, and what are the sessions I want to attend. So a lot of us like to plan, and so do I, right? So, but the biggest challenge sometimes we face is that even though you may have allocated the time, even though you may have identified your sessions, but unfortunately not every time when the session is happening and your availability matches. There are a lot of sessions that I missed out because of my unavailability or the preferences that I had, and the sessions were not happening at a time when I actually I was available, or I couldn't match my availability with those. So sometimes some of my sessions also, sometimes sessions you may not relate to, or they may not be aligned to your learning preferences. But at the end of it, when you miss a few, it just builds up so much of stress, right? That, oh my God, I'm short of these many PDCs. So these are some of the challenges that I faced in my certification journey. But learnings, practically, when you put in the focused effort. When you allocate time, you take smaller steps, you fix your milestones, and then month on month you do that planning. So even if you miss one cycle, at least you have time to catch up. I think these are small little tips that would help you plan better and go through the cycle.
Great. Thank you so much, Shivani. So, Dedu, we have a question, a very interesting question from Yusuf. SHRM versus CIPD, what's the difference? Which one is better? How well is it, how well it fares in overall international markets? So, do you want to take this one up?
Okay. So yes, Yusuf. So with all due respect to CIPD, I really value them very high. And every organization which comes up with certification, there's a lot of back-end work, research, and a rigorous certification process that goes into it before the assessment comes in front of us as HR professionals. And I'm sure the same thing goes for CIPD. So I'm going to speak more from SHRM, being an SHRM professional. The SHRM certification, and once again, at the sake of repeating myself, the SHRM certification is a global certification wherein whatever we are covering as a part of this certification course curriculum or the content is completely global in nature, and it's taken into consideration the latest relevant trends and the topics and the themes that need to be studied upon or need to be dwelled upon to be relevant in today's context. There are a few certifications out there in the market which are very specific to a particular region or a location. And yes, it works brilliantly well there when you want to focus on those particular regional specific laws or regional specific implications of those laws. And yes, that works brilliantly well there. In terms of SHRM, this SHRM certification is more global in nature and it's widely accepted across the globe and not really specific to a particular region. And the kind of content that we cover, as I said, it focuses on 15 functional competencies and 8 behavioral/leadership competencies, covering across the entire proficiency indicators, which is nothing but covering across the entire levels or the tiers of professionals, HR professionals, who exist within the organization. The work that has gone in the back end is a lot of, as I said, a lot of rigorous process in terms of ensuring that the questions are right. We are able to assess not just the knowledge but the application of the knowledge as well. So in simple terms, we are more of a global certification, and based on our global competency model, the uniqueness is more towards the application of the knowledge and the skills in real workplace situations. And yes, it's very, very well known across the globe. We have close to about 210,000 people who are certified with us so far, and the number keeps growing year on year because we have exams and assessments twice a year. So in short, that's my answer to you.
Great. Thanks, Dedu. And we have another question from Ashish. How much these certification courses are aligned with country-specific HR compliances? So, just to answer that one, Ashish, the SHRM certifications are not aligned to any country-specific laws or regulations, because as a part of the eligibility criteria, one has to have that information or be informed prior to taking up this, because it doesn't cover any local land laws as such. That's something that you automatically go through during your work experience or your educational qualification, and that's a prerequisite that is there as a part of the when before you sit for the exam. And in terms of I know we're running out of time right now, but last sort of question, before we go, is post getting recertified, how has the SHRM credential helped you professionally? So Shivani, if you can shed some light on that.
Sure, Lian. Thank you. So for me, actually, the SHRM certification, I mean, we all know, as Deru also rightly pointed out, it is like pretty renowned and globally recognized. I mean, there's no doubt about that, right? And I personally think people also, even in interviews, HR professionals have also been started asking, like, do you have any other HR certification? Because after, say, for example, 15, 20 years of experience in your career, your academic is there to validate that you have gotten through these years, right? But to check actually the recency knowledge of the BOK, think certifications like SHRM, I mean, they do definitely help a great deal. So why is it important is because people do recognize and they do acknowledge it. And also what I feel is a lot of them where they feel actually you have read something in the recent past and you've updated your knowledge. So a complete assurance of you having having professional updated knowledge is definitely this recertification brings. But for me personally, how it has helped me great deal in two big aspects. One, as I mentioned earlier, it had helped me stay relative and updated, and especially in times like this current business environment that we are in. This is like changing at a pace which I don't think any HR professional has experienced the pace and the scale of change that we are experiencing. So, I mean, it is crucial for all of us in HR to stay relative, especially at this point in time. I mean, given the change that we are going through, this environment totally we are operating in is absolutely dynamic, and I feel it's here to stay. So, I mean, staying relative is a crucial, and this certification has really helped me in my professional career, especially in last 18 months. There was so much I could leverage from the knowledge that I have gained. It has always helped in the past, but these 18 months, the past 18 months have made me realize the importance of it way deeper and far more than in the recent years. Second thing is, I mean, if I talk about the global reach or the global recognition of the SHRM certification, I feel, I mean, when we are in HR profession, I mean, our roles are truly global. It's not limited to actually the geography that we operate in. We may be operating in a certain geography, but like having a global knowledge or a global perspective helps us to become effective in our roles. And that's where actually it has personally helped me when I am in an organization which is truly global, and the boundaries, the geographies, the boundaries, I mean, they're totally becoming more and more blurred. So it just gives me a much wider perspective, and that has tremendously been of great advantage in my current role, especially. So these are two big ones I would call out. How SHRM certification has really helped me in my professional career.
Great. Thank you so much, Shivani. Dedu, one final question before we sort of end the session is from David. In terms of he's from L&D era, planning to pursue a career in core HR, and is he eligible for the SHRM certification? So I know we're currently focusing this session on recertification for those who are certified SHRM certified professionals. But for the audience who is joining us who is not certified and who really wants to understand about it, if you can, spend a minute on here before we sort of wrap up the session.
So very quickly, just to answer to Mr. David, yes, you can, I think you are eligible for senior certification, but I would urge you to look at the eligibility grid or the criteria that is there on our SHRM website. So there are a few other criteria like the educational background that you've got, whether you're a bachelor's or an undergraduate, postgraduate, and in what area have you, specialized in your graduation or your post-graduation, whether it's in the HR or non-HR, and along with that, the number of years of experience. So both of them together actually helps you to determine whether you go in for an SHRM CP, which is a certified professional, or an SHRM SCP, which is a senior certified professional. But as a thumb rule, anyone who does more of operational oriented work, has less than 2 years of experience in HR, goes in for a certified professional, whereas the ones who do more of strategic oriented work as a part of their role and have more than 7-8 years of experience go in for a senior certified professional. That's just a thumb rule, but there is a proper eligibility grid, and we request you to please go through the website or drop in a line to SHRM India, they rate shrm.org, and I'm sure we'll get back to you with the process and guide you accordingly, please. So thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. So thank you, Dedu and Shivani, for your time today and sharing, key insights and tips on how to stay certified and collecting your PDCs. A big thank you to our lovely audience who joined us today, both who are certified and who are pursuing their certification. So in case any of you want to reach out, please, reach out the SHRM team on shrmindia@shrm.org or call us at 1-800-103-2198. We're open Monday to Friday, 9:30 to 6 p.m. And we are doing these series of earning how to earn your PDCs. So do stay tuned and watch this space for more, because we're going to be launching our second part series soon. Great. Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you once again, Shivani and Dedu.
Thanks
Have
a
a
lot.
lovely
Thanks a
evening.
lot, Leanne.
And
Thanks,
we'll see you
Shivani,
soon.
and thanks to everyone.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much.